When most people think of Roman Polanski and his movies, they immediately think of Rosemary's Baby in Chinatown. However, one of his more recent movies that I watched was the 1999 film, The Ninth Gate. The movie stars Johnny Depp as a rare book dealer named Dean Corso. Corso is tasked with tracking down copies of a 17th century book named The Ninth Gate. It is believed the author, the fictional character Aristide Torchia, wrote the book with the devil, and only 3 copies exist. The book is said to have the power to summon the devil and give absolute power to whomever completes the ritual. In general, I thought the movie was pretty slow in the beginning, but it really picked up toward the end. It was quite interesting. Now, Johnny Depp, as always, was pretty good in this movie and played his role well, although I thought Frank Langella, who played Boris Balkan, along with Emmanuel Seeger, who played the girl, were really terrific in this movie. Now, I'm going to give a quick recap of the film, as I'm sure there's people out there who have seen the movie, but since it's been over 20 years, forgot the details. Now, Johnny Depp plays rare book dealer Dean Corso, who is hired by Boris Balkan. Balkan owns an extremely rare book, The Ninth Gate, but apparently there's 2 additional copies out there, and Balkan believes only one of the books is genuine and wants Corso to determine which one is real. Now, Corso heads to Europe to investigate. He examines the first copy and notices that there's these slight differences in the illustrations, but both books appear to be genuine. He finds the same thing as well in the second copy too, and during this time, Corso is being tracked and attacked by members of a devil-worshipping cult, hoping to steal his book, or actually it's Balkan's book. Now, Depp is protected by this mysterious girl, only named as the girl, and we'll get into a little bit more around her in a minute. But eventually Depp discovers that in order to perform the ritual, one needs 3 of the illustrations from all 3 books. Hence, 3 times 3 is 9, the Ninth Gate. Now, all of these, the ones the illustrations needed, were signed LCF, which should stand for Lucifer, and he relays this information to Balkan, who obtains all of them, and then heads to a remote castle to perform the ritual. Corso tracks him there, and Balkan performs the ritual, believing he's going to have essentially infinite power. However, after dousing himself with gas, he soon burns to death. Corso then leaves, and when he gets back to his car, the mysterious girl is there, and him and Corso, they have sex, and she informs him that the ritual was incomplete. Now, she tells him where the last piece is. Corso gets it, and in the final scene, we see Corso return to the castle with a white light illuminating from the door, and the thought here is, of course, that Corso completed the ritual and entered the Ninth Gate. Now, most of the strength in this movie, I think, revolves around the mystery and the fact we, the viewer, have to kind of put together a puzzle throughout the film. Much of what happens in the end isn't obvious. For example, we don't know who or what the girl is exactly. Some speculate she's a fallen angel or the whore of Babylon. Others think she's actually the devil itself. I lean more towards the devil and that she was trying to orchestrate the event. Now, one thing I didn't like was the girl and how they presented her as supernatural pretty early on in the movie. In one of the fight scenes, we see her float down, defying gravity. And up until this point, I wasn't sure about her, and I thought she might have been with the devil cult or possibly working for Balkan. So it's clear after this, she was no human. And in essence, I just thought they gave up the secret a little bit too early in the movie. I would have liked to have seen this a bit later. Of course, the movie was so slow in the beginning too, that it was kind of nice to get something at least. Now, that recap I just gave, I really cut out a lot of fat because this movie can get incredibly slow at times. A lot of unnecessary dialogue in here, a lot of scenes that could have been cut. And that's really the weakness in this movie. They could have at least made this, they could have at least cut 30 minutes out, I think. And I get Polanski wanted a big build up to this final scene, but a shorter version could have had the same effect, I think. Still, I thought the action scenes, one other thing I want to point out, the action scenes and fighting in the movie weren't really good. That's not really why you watch a movie like this, of course. In fact, they were probably, I would say, pretty bad. And the acting outside the core group of actors and actresses, it was pretty bad at times. It actually surprised me how bad it was, being a Roman Polanski film. Still, much of this movie that is great is around the mystery and the intrigue of the subject, the open to interpretation around who the girl is, around what exactly happens. I think most of it is pretty self-explanatory, but there's still some open-ended questions, debate on that. And it's open to interpretation and done in a clever way. Sometimes directors do it and the viewer just ends up frustrated at the end of the film. So this movie, it's definitely one to watch or possibly rewatch. Just be a little prepared to be bored the first hour or so.